Is there a connection to be made between the assassination of General Qasem Soleimani and Jeffrey Epstein? In terms of, I was speaking to Dr. Paul Craig Roberts before you came on, and he agreed with me that the United States had nothing to gain by murdering Soleimani. I believe that Max Blumenthal has done a video on this. I know you've got your opinions. Mike, if Epstein was connected to Mossad, it's not unreasonable for me to think that Epstein may in the past have gleaned or saved or gathered some compromising information on Donald Trump. And then Trump, you have what happened last Friday, the general was murdered. And I think, it's like one of those old dot connecting things. Is there a link? What do you think?
I don't think so. And this is why. I actually, just before coming on this broadcast, I just did a 50-minute, almost hour AMA with my audience on this certain conflict. And I'd say, number one, this has already been in the works for over a decade. We have Wesley Clark talking about it. We have them being as that original part of the axes of evil. Now, obviously, we had it heat up over the summer with the limpet mine attacks and then the drone attacks against oil fields. Now, a lot of people disregarded the fact that Mike Pompeo was the guest speaker at Bilderberg at a castle dinner this year. And you already had Jared Kushner, his son-in-law, there. There has been no administration that has been more openly cozy with Israel, from giving them the Golan Heights to militarily backing them on everything. Now, you already see this building up. I just posted I showed a story from the 27th where Netanyahu and Trump had already allegedly signed a secret pact to go into Iran and kind of divvy it up responsibility-wise. This is at the same time that China comes in with Russia to do naval drills with Iran, which the United States was invited on but didn't want to partake. Now, on the 27th, we also get the fourth rung of OPCW leaks. These are the leaks from the chemical weapon proliferation front that was sent there by the UN to see if the Duma attacks happened in 2018. Well, all the low-level people all said it didn't happen. If you look at the evidence now that's been leaked, they tried to say there was no evidence of a chemical attack. That's not what we were told. The complete report was flipped on its head. These people tried to blow the whistle the right way, and no, they had to go through WikiLeaks, which they're trying to present as a Russian asset to get these things out. Now, all this happens, and suddenly one contractor dies, and it's okay to bomb not only Iraq, this is important, but Syria, to keep that front going. Now, for those that don't know, Soleimani has been the head of the Al-Quds force and really, their Colin Powell in Iran. I'd say he'd even supersede that there, since he's on the ground in these forces and has actually had to fight ISIS where? In Lebanon, Iraq, the Kurdistan border, all these places, and Syria. And he's the main guy who's done this. In fact, they wouldn't just let him in, Richie. They have to let him in. Why? Because of Russian intervention. When they finally came in and said, listen, we're going to get rid of ISIS, obviously Iran is their ally and certain deals have to be made. So I really think that, these people that have been with him forever, Trump's not, I'm sure Trump had almost never heard of this guy's name before. They talk about the contractor. All of a sudden, after these drone strikes, you have people rightfully upset that their brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers, friends, and family have been killed by U.S. drones. They take over the embassy, and Soleimani was actually sent there not to, ride a military mission, but to mediate between the people that had taken it over, Iran and Iraq. So to strike him and kill him is an act of war to me. I think that right now, they're looking at an escalation. I don't think anything like the impeachment or any of that, that's all a distraction. That's nothing. The permanent state has wanted this forever, Richie, and I think that they're using this as a time to kind of to strike. Whether that's because they just found $53 billion or billion barrels of oil in a new region, and they don't want Iran to have that and possibly cut the market. Now they're trying to act faster. You never really know behind the scenes. But I really don't see a connection with Epstein.
No, the payoffs are multifaceted. No, you make a great point. The Trump administration hasn't begun moves in earnest against Iran. Mentioning Wesley Clark is very important. You're absolutely right. It's been if we want to use the term deep state, it's been a plan for many, many, many years. I would just put forward this last argument about Epstein, and you can have the final word on that. Is that I believe that guys like Trump, whatever people think of Trump, and I don't have any time for him or for the things he's done in his past or for the sort of character that he is, but I do believe, going on things that he said when he's been a guest on talk shows over the years, when he wasn't a politician, when he was just a very famous businessman, I do believe that he would have been inclined, as most, I suppose, kind of liberal type guys, even though he's always described himself as a conservative, I think he's more of a liberal, that he would have been against American interventionism. I think that would have been a genuine belief of Trump's going back in the day. I mean, he was against the Iraq War in 2003. He was famously against it. I just think that, and again, I could be wrong, it's just an opinion, that's all, that these guys, to ascend to the Oval Office, they've got to be compromised at some stage along the way. They're never going to get there. You're quite right. He's not the instigator of plans against Iran. No, you're absolutely right to make that point. But I wonder, does he get to be in that position? And does he order the pulling of that trigger on Friday last? Because there are videos and, photographs. But maybe I'm wrong. That's all I was suggesting.
Let me say this, Richie, because this was always my thing. I openly voted for Trump. And I said I was going to, but I'd always said it with a caveat. I said, my biggest fear is that they're going to be able to pull some kind of a false flag event and do them as a great idea, right? Especially because Trump had twice said in the month before that it was time to get out of Syria, okay? Right. And then all of a sudden you have that attack in Duma and his daughter's crying about it, and all of a sudden we have missiles going into that country. That's a bad thing. And I do think the guy thought he was going to come in with a superhero cape. And the other thing is that he is a very smart guy. But when you look at this impeachment, and we all know it's not going to go through, can you imagine how much time that occupies, not only, with him dealing with lawyers and what he needs to do there, but in his head? And I think that's part of the, distraction of Trump to kind of manipulate him. At the same time, like I've said, John Bolton is not a good guy. He put him in there. Gina Haspel is not a good person. Mike Pompeo, not a good person. So he never surrounded himself with like the Rand Pauls or the Ron Pauls even in his administration that made me comfortable thinking that he was going to go through with it. I think that, again, he thought he was going to go in there and be Superman. I don't know that they're compromising him on any kind of like Epstein blackmail. Why? Because I think they would have pulled that trigger in some way, shape, or form. They've tried to get him on every business deal they could. And when you look at it, we all know that the Russiagate thing was really an attempt to get him in a perjury trap, much like Flynn, much like Manafort, where once they got him in that seat, they could ask him anything they knew he would lie about that they thought that they couldn't really prosecute him on at the time, and then go for it. So I think it's a really multifaceted issue. And, at the same time, Richie, we got to acknowledge that guys that push Trump, career politician types, career insiders like Roger Stone are not good people. Did he deserve to get railroaded in the manner he did? No, lying to Congress should not be a thing. Congress lies to us, smiles about it on a daily basis, and it costs the lives of tens of thousands of us and really tens of millions of people overseas with a little darker color skin. And I don't appreciate it. But Roger Stone is also the architect of modern day lobbying. And you know how I feel about that, Richie. It's the first thing that we would have to cut off to try to get our constitutional republic back in this country.
Jason Bermas is our guest. It's youtube.com/InfoWarrior. Check it out if you haven't before. We've got Jason. Another 20, 25 minutes, loads to get through, and a number of questions have come in on the same topic. It's about Epstein, and it's about videos confiscated or seized from Epstein's property. We'll come back to that in a second. The video Jason is talking about, the one he made last night about the Epstein autopsy and the photographs in the cell. Check it out at youtube.com/InfoWarrior. What did you make of the UK comedian Ricky Gervais and the comments he made last night at the Golden Globes? Nothing to write home about there, just a little bit of rib tickling. Or was there something else going on there when he said to them, he's your friend and you'll have to fly yourselves home now? That's a bit close to the bone, that.
I'll tell you what, Richie, I love doing this show because that's actually how I opened the video before we went to the Epstein autopsy photos. not only for a little laugh, but because he said, "Oh, I get it. He was all your friends." And you could visibly see some of the people in the audience pretty upset that he had said that. And then, like you said, he added that extra jab about the plane. So
Yeah.
props to Ricky Gervais, man. I don't have to agree with the guy on everything. I'll be honest. I've only seen a little bit of his stuff. I saw him in the Muppet movie because I watched it with my nieces or whatever. But good for him. I don't have to agree with everything he says. I actually watched his whole 7.5 minute ribbing, and all of it was pretty decent. And that was the icing on the cake for me.
Yeah, and even the comment about Prince Andrew. It's fantastic. He said something.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, and he dug a little at Leo DiCaprio on that as well. So kudos to him. I loved it.
Yeah, good stuff. Right. A number of people have asked me about... I want to come back in a minute to your belief, and I really hope you're right. And to be fair to you, you've got insight here, and you've been right many times. I hope you're right about indictments and arrests in terms of, the murder. Well, you could say the assassination of Epstein because of his connections. Before we go to that, what happened to the lorry loads, the truckloads of evidence taken from Epstein properties, including videos and stuff? Where the hell is it, Jason? And who's examining it?
Well, that's a great question. And I had done a video earlier this week, and we're going to tie it all together, on Ghislaine Maxwell and the stories out there that she was indeed connected to intelligence, was being protected by her rich friends and the intelligence community, and doesn't think that she'll be brought to justice, because we have had the reports earlier, as early as November, that 4 people were ready to be arrested by the FBI. Now, before that, I was kind of referring to, these message boards that say hundreds of indictments or the deep state's going down. But we still do have good people within the FBI, or Epstein wouldn't have gotten arrested in the first place, and they wouldn't have flipped 3 of his employees, and we wouldn't have had a judge release 2,000 pages, and we hope on 10 days from now, another 10,000 pages will be released. Although I'm not really confident, because guess what? The Bill Barr FBI cover-up crew is in full effect. And what do I mean? Well, in that safe, what did they publicly find? Well, they found a passport with a Saudi Arabian address and an alias for Epstein that they did not disclose which country it came from. Whitney Webb has done some really good work on that. I agree. She's got a beat on it, and it's more than likely from where she thinks it comes from. Go check out her stuff. But the other thing is, they said they found cash and jewelry. All 3 of those things were listed by Maria Farmer as being in his safe. And what else? Actual physical tapes. Now, Maria Farmer is the first person to report Epstein, not from Palm Beach in the late 2000s. No, in 1996, when she went to the NYPD and the FBI and said she had been held against her will at Les Wexner's mansion after being sexually assaulted by Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. Now, at this time, she was working for him and overage. She was his door girl at the New York mansion. And she said Epstein had actually told her that. Now, her younger sister, who was underage at the time, also got sexually attacked by Epstein. She happened to jump into my comments section on that video of Ghislaine Maxwell this week, saying she, watch, I believe it's 3 days from now, there's going to be a piece with Maria Farmer in there, and she thinks Les Wexner is the head of that snake. She thinks he is actually the boss man, and that's the vibe she got working for Epstein. So I'm really interested to see what this piece has to offer, and whether I can actually get Maria Farmer on my show, because she made several comments that were jarring. Obviously, when I realized it was her, I tried to contact her, but the good people at YouTube decided to take away the private message feature, so I have no way to get in touch with her.